Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Saturday, March 29th, 2025 by Gaia Blooming. I am Mimi and our energy mantra for today is I align with the true nature of who I am. It should be I align and act from the true nature of who I am. There we go. So today we have our second of this pair of eclipses. The new moon that goes along with it will happen at 3:58 a.m. Pacific time. The partial solar eclipse begins its process at 1:50 a.m. Pacific time. And I mentioned it yesterday, but I'm going to say it again today. You can look at timeanddate.com to see if you are able to see the eclipse. And maybe those on like the East Coast can see like the end of the eclipse. I'm not really sure. But check it out. This energy has been interesting. While an eclipse is always a big thing, I don't feel like it's the main event this weekend. I feel like the eclipse is kind of like tiptoeing through, preparing the way for Neptune to move into Aries. So Neptune shifting signs is a big deal because it only happens every 13, 14 years. We have had Neptune in the sign of Pisces since 2012, 2013, and it's moving in on Sunday. So this eclipse is kind of like coming through. It's like, you know, when you have like before a parade, like random little things come through. It's like, oh, is the parade starting? And then suddenly the Grand Marshal comes through. That's what it kind of feels like. So while this eclipse is important, every step in the dance is important. I do feel like it's paving the way. But at the same time, this eclipse is also wrapping up a cycle that began 2 years ago. We had our first eclipse in Aries, not first ever, but first of this cycle 2 years ago. So in 2023, in spring of 2023, we were working through Aries eclipse energies, and here we are finally finishing this off. And like I said, this also feels like preparation for what is coming in. Neptune moving into Aries, and then down the line at the end of May, Saturn moving into Aries. So there's more layers of this Aries energy, which represents who we are and how we take action in the world. There's more layers to keep stripping through, moving through as we reclaim who we are and save the world in doing so. I truly believe that that's what it's going to take to save the world, to balance it all out, is for us to embrace who we are. Now, it's interesting, before recording this song that I have not listened to in a really long time popped into my head. The song is Wild by Poe. And I don't feel like it was all about the song so much and the lyrics of the song, but just the energy of wild. And I think we all have some wild in us, right? And that might be part of the Aries. That might be part of our inner I am wild. Reclaiming that and stopping being afraid of that energy, because I think it might take embracing that energy for us to be able to fully rebirth ourselves, to bring forth ourselves. And it's interesting because the top of the cards is the adventure card. And in this card, it always looks like they're moving into this light, this colorful spectrum of light, but there's a lot of darkness around. And I think that that might be part of reclaiming our inner wild energy, is seeing the light in the wild, but also recognizing where you may be afraid of embracing that part of yourself. And it might be from, conditioning, from people telling you, oh, that's too much. I always got in trouble for being too boisterous. That was the word used when I was little, right? And so, like, you learn to quell your wild. You learn to not be, what is it, Donnie from the Wild Thornberries? You learn not to be like that. And yet, there are pieces of our truest nature that we also quell when we quell our wild. And so part of this eclipse energy is allowing those parts of ourselves to be revealed and not so hidden away, so that we can claim our me-iest me, the you-iest you, all of that energy. And this, again, I think is what this eclipse energy is doing. Now, when we have Saturn move into Aries, there's going to be even more layers of responsibility when it comes to this, when it comes to you being you. So this energy is in preparation. These eclipses the last 2 years in Aries have been in preparation for this other Aries energy coming in. I also think that it's really interesting that this eclipse is happening alongside of Neptune easing its way into the sign of Aries. I was looking, I was like, how far is it between them? It's about, about 24 hours apart. So it's pretty close in time-wise, right? For these big energy events to be happening. And it's a reminder as Neptune moves into Aries that, like, we are spirits in human form. And here we are coming from the divine onto earth. And that's part of reclaiming who we are as well, is recognizing that divinity within ourselves. And so Neptune moving into Aries is like a really strong reminder of that happening at the same time. Also interesting is that Mercury is actually retrograding today back into Pisces. So even as Mercury in Aries retrograde has been revealing deeper layers of ourself, here it goes, retrograding so deep back into spirit. And it's almost like when you do, past life energy, or, connect in like to deeper layers of who you are. And so Mercury is opening the door for all that in this energy too. You are a beautiful collage of lifetimes. A beautiful collage of lifetimes and experiences that have shaped you into who you are, which is beautiful. A piece of art, a masterpiece. And remembering and embracing all of this feels potent and important in these eclipse energies. We're also not going to have another eclipse in the sign of Aries for about 7-8 years. So it's going to be a little while before, the Aries energies is pushed. Because eclipses can push, right? Like any full moon, any new moon can push, open doors, close doors. But eclipses make it that much bigger. It is a time of endings and new beginnings. And an eclipse with a new moon in Aries does open a new cycle that will be ongoing till we hit the next round of cycles. Again, 7 or 8 years. So really being very intentional with what seeds you're planting for, the next foreseeable future is potent in this energy. Like I mentioned, the eclipse happens, or the new moon happens right around 4 a.m. Pacific time. And it's not really connecting into anything, which is so weird. Usually eclipses do connect into other aspects. The closest connection that it has is actually with Pluto, which is at 3 degrees. So it's 6 degrees off of this 9-degree eclipse. So I mentioned that in yesterday's scope. So if you want to hear about the moon meeting up with Pluto before reaching the eclipse, go check out that scope. So this eclipse stands alone, and I mentioned the Sabian symbol a few times this week. It's a crystal gazer, which is like a crystal ball that's giving us a glance into the future, a glance into how we would like to see the unfolding of ourselves and our world, and how we're going to be feeling called to take action in our life and, again, in the world. And that's part of this energy, and it's part of remembering the strong Pisces energy that we have going on right now, is knowing the power of our vision. One of the things that always strikes me is that nothing in the world is unaffected by how we see it. And that includes ourselves. And includes how other people see us. But how you see yourself is powerful. And so this can be a beautiful time to ask to see yourself in your beauty, in your strength, maybe in your shadow, like see some of that energy too, but like really boost yourself in your light, in the youest you energy that you can be brought, or that can be brought forward. Ask spirit to show you so that you can envision that energy gaining strength, gaining your true power. Because I think sometimes we see ourselves as more inferior and small than we actually are. So that could be powerful in and through this energy as well. Please remember that this energy can also bring up other people's shadows, and having that adventure card. While this eclipse is going to happen while so many of us are sleeping, Aries energy is going to be ongoing, and Neptune moving into Aries has a whole other can of worms that'll be opening. I'm going to go with that tomorrow's scope. But take it easy, stay grounded in and through this, because people might be going a little wacky from some of these energies. You know, use your discernment, really connect into your intuition. I also feel like this eclipse energy is kind of like tiptoeing through. I've said it to my patron group. It just feels like it's kind of tiptoeing through, and it's not to say that it's not leaving a big download and some big energies, but it's preparing the way for Neptune to move into Aries. And I have this laziness card along with receptivity. So like, sit back, relax, see what the universe wants to reveal to you in it. This isn't super active despite the Aries energy. I pulled this card as well in my patron group, the existence card. This is a card, it's the Magician, but it's remembering your magic. Remembering that magic moving through and as a part of you. And keeping hold of that as Neptune moves into Aries, which again, we're going to dig into. But part of this eclipse is keeping up with that. We also have the completion card. And I do think there are some cycles, there are some things that are coming to an end during this eclipse season. Now, this might not be like today it ends, but I think that it's more largely incorporated into the Mercury retrograde and the Venus retrograde. And by the time they roll around and come back to where they began their retrogrades, which is right here where the eclipse point is, there may be some things that are wrapping up. So if you're like, oh, I thought that was leaving my life, but here it still is, hold on. There's still some lessons ongoing with this. And the eclipse season extends beyond the actual eclipse happening. I think I'm going to leave that there. My last card that I have is the Faith card. And it says, miraculously, amazingly, everything I need always comes. Love is opening me to receive beyond anything I imagine. And so I think that's a beautiful card and a beautiful reminder to have faith through this wacky, wild world, and through the reclaiming of your inner wild and the completion of whatever is needing to complete itself at this time. So if you would like to dig deeper into your chart, please reach out. You can book a reading. And the better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power, and may your guiding light be strong. And know that you can trust the process of remembering who you are. Namaste.